What's up, y'all? Recap here, and I'm going to share with you how I got the Chaos Tome in Megabonk. Shout out to the gamer. I kind of followed his guides, but deviated a little bit, so let's get into it. So I'll start off by just giving you some of the reasoning behind everything that I'm doing. Go with the Ninja because he's got good mobility right off the bat, but he's not too fast like Calcium the Skeleton, and so you're not going to be zooming like into a Shrine Sphere and then accidentally like come out the other side. Almost every single attempt of mine, this was maybe like the 10th attempt in a row, but I found that if early on in the stage you're not getting the magnet, man, start over, because you're gonna want to be able to level significantly right off the bat, and that just helps tremendously. The weapons I go for are the katana, the dexecutioner, the aura, and the Aegis, the shield, just for a little bit of defensiveness inside of these bubbles. I mean, you're basically going to want to treat this as if you're just doing any kind of normal tier 3 run. So the XP Tome and the Luck Tome are ones that you're going to want to pick early on. The same as the current meta just dictates that that's how you get through these like high level runs. The other two tomes that you are kind of up to you, but I would recommend at least the damage tome. And then for the 4th slot, the gamer who I'm kind of following his guide on this recommends that you get the size tome. I'd recommend just picking size whenever you get shrine bonuses, if it's available, and actually switching out the size tome for the projectiles tome, plus projectiles, not projectile speed. That one is garbage. You never want to use that one. But I found that getting plus projectiles helped me a lot more than going with the size tome. Even though the ninja comes with a lot of mobility on his own, I found that taking plus to movement speed whenever possible, actually it helped me a lot, because I found that in earlier runs in the later stages, I was just such a turtle on this stuff and moving so slowly, because as you're moving through the stages, your movement speed gets nerfed on stages 2 and 3. So I just found that picking up as much mobility with plus movement is best practice. Ooh, you can see there, I got into a pretty sticky situation around here, almost got knocked out of that sphere. And then thankfully though, because of years and years of playing a troll hunter on World of Warcraft, I learned how to kite really well. So this is essentially me just kiting for 3 or 4 minutes straight right here, trying to take down this guy and these mobs. And I think, yeah, the swarm starts right here. This was real sticky. Did not love this, but because of that magnet, I'm leveling a whole bunch while I'm doing this. So luckily I was able to patiently get through this. You can see me refreshing and trying to get the tomes that I want, until boom, got all 4 of them. The XP tome was the last one I needed. This is a point where I start really worrying that my cat is going to jump on my lap and ruin my run, which happened multiple times before this. But moreover, I just start questioning a lot of my life choices, like, why did I decide to get into the profession I got into? Why did I go to school for theater? Why didn't I get a business degree? I guess I could go back to school and get a master's in some sort of like business management now, but that's a story for another time. Probably just gonna make a sandwich and keep playing Megabonk. So you can see a lot of this is me just zooming around, kiting mobs, trying to stay alive as long as possible. One thing I love about the Aegis on this run is that it, not only does it work as a little bit of defense, and it's defense without like too much tankiness, which you'll see when I get to the very end and try to take on the final boss and final stage. I basically get like one-shotted by the guy. Well, it's kind of like a 1-2 shot, but nonetheless it still works really well for keeping you alive during this run, because it's kind of the only defense that you're taking. I take a little bit of like lifesteal and yeah, I think I actually only take lifesteal. I think once I have to take thorns, because it was literally the only option. But otherwise, the Aegis shield is kind of gonna be what keeps you pumping through this run. Now, keep an eye on the clock while you're doing this, because you're gonna get into these swarms, and you never want to go into a shrine sphere while a swarm is happening or about to happen. You know, it happens at like the 6.5 minute mark and like the 2.5 minute mark. I don't know the exact times, but you know, you'll the more you play, you'll get used to that. But finally, after I clear all of that stuff, more kiting, more close calls, get into it and go for the projectiles. I do plus projectiles as much as possible because I found that with the Dexecutioner, man, really struggle with that name every single time. It makes you godly. I mean, I think once we get to the end of the run, you'll see that the Dexecutioner is my highest DP item, even more so than the Katana, and obviously more than the Aegis. Let's talk about the Aura. I've found that the Aura is really good as another sort of just like mid-defense, mid-offense item to carry with you. You can see in the second year with the Aegis, you just bump into the boss as much as possible, and it does like some pretty good chunks of damage. Now, at the end of the stages, before I go into the portal to the next stage, because I've got the magnet, you can kind of just stand in one spot and farm these final swarms. And so that's always good, just get a couple more levels before moving into the next stage. You can see in the first stage, I was pretty good at getting all 15 of them right off the, like, pretty in a row, essentially. The second stage is kind of where I struggled the most in the run. Third stage was honestly a little piece of a cake, and you'll see at the very end I got some really, really lucky power-ups. Speaking of power-ups, go for power-up chance as much as possible. Don't get additional elite spawns. Get damage to elites, but don't do additional elite spawns. You want to be running this as quickly as possible. Also, go for every Moab statue you see. I mean, I think that's a no-brainer. A couple more important stats that I think you should always go for is crit chance and crit damage, obviously, plus projectiles as much as possible, movement speed as much as possible. You want more mobility, especially here in the second stage and then in the third stage when you just get real sluggish. Power-up multiplier is good, but I also love to do a lot of evasion on the ninja because the katana evading, and with the cloak that you get that lets you evade more, you're just like executing left and right, especially with the Dexecutioner. So it's just like you really want to keep the area around you as clean as possible. And then, of course, another boss right when I'm finishing a shrine. I kind of don't worry about killing these bosses like right off the bat. Usually I'll just like zoom my way over towards the next shrine so that I know that I'm close to it, so that as soon as the boss is done I can just pop right onto the shrine, because generally, like, as soon as you pop the boss, then, you know, everything else will clean up around them pretty quickly. Reasoning behind when I'm choosing the upgrade offers, I kind of go for obviously whatever is like epic or legendary, but you want to kind of do quantity as much as possible, because I've just found that having the most projectiles possible is best. Of course, you're going to get trash ones like thorns, and you gotta just choose, you know, the best you can, but luckily evasion's on there. I think that was evasion. Anyway, you can see I'm up to 23 shrines right now. It's at this point where I kind of worried that I had lost track. I was keeping a tally on a notepad next to my desk with a piece of paper. Backpack as much as possible, just for more and more projectiles, which I found does better for me than the damage or size. So, yeah. Almost clicked on the bush, which would have been bad. I mean, the bush is good. Some people like a little bit of bush in their runs. I personally, it's up to the environment, really. Whatever the environment decides, I'm down for whatever, bush or no bush. Alright, now you can see I'm up to 26 shrines right now, if we've been keeping track accordingly. Sometimes I do go for plus HP just to feel a little less like a glass cannon on these runs, but almost always go for plus projectiles. And this is when I'm really starting to really having to search around for the last of the shrines. One thing that I kind of could have done better at was attaining more and more gold in this run. You can see there's 2 of the shady guys that I had to skip because I just didn't have enough to buy off of them, which probably would have helped the run even more. And then you do, of course, have, you know, between damage and XP, you kind of just have to choose best for your play style when you're picking these upgrades. But I've just found that damage, projectiles, almost always I play better for me. I kind of play a little bit like an asshat, and I Leroy Jenkins stuff a lot. You can see now I'm down to the last tome, or the last shrine of the level, and I have forgotten where it is, but I think it was right around this point that I realized like there was a section of the east wall that I hadn't gone to right there. Right after I had gotten that shrine, I just sort of skipped past this area on the left, but that I kind of like put together that was the last place that I had failed to look. And then, yeah, I mean, there was a good like 2 minutes there where I was just zooming around trying to find the last shrine. And of course, I've only got 9 seconds left before the final swarm, so I have to summon the boss. Otherwise, I'm just going to be absolute bonkers. And then some careful kiting around here at the end because there's this Chad Bark and the Stone Golem. Luckily, I think I get the Stone Golem down first. Yep. Some awesome upgrades before finally taking down the final boss. Unfortunately, though, that means that there's not really much time after the final boss for me to sit here and grind a couple levels before going into the final stage. I mean, I think I get a couple, but not as nearly as much as I would have wanted to. And then honestly, the final stage was maybe the easiest stage for me altogether. I think I've done a good job of giving myself plenty of mobility with plus movement speed on everything. I was lucky that I didn't get too many. I've never got the beacon once, I don't think. So I didn't even have to banish it, so I didn't have to waste any of my banishments. That's one thing. Early on, if you see the beacon, just use one of your banishments or save one of your banishments for that, because in the early stages, if you get it, then that means that there's 17 shrines in the second stage and 17 shrines in the third stage, and you know, obviously that's going to make your run suck. So always banish the beacon. You can see my options there were pretty terrible. Knockback thorns or power up, and it was power up. I did pick up knockback a couple of times, but I didn't really find that it did much for me. Unfortunately, I would, on a normal run, I would also go for plus jumps. Did not do that here because I kind of wanted to just zoom around on the ground as much as possible because I did not want to accidentally jump out of the sphere when I got into it. Even here at the very end, I'm going more XP gain because it was the best option, and even though I am on the last stage and there's less than 10 left, 8 left now, still wanted to be leveling up as much as possible. You want to treat this as if you're doing just a normal run. Of course, camp out while the swarm takes over, get a few levels before I go into this shrine. The great thing about having a magnet is you can just sit in one spot and boom, boom, boom. Once that's done, right in. Now I've got 5 left once this shrine pops. Here's where I picked thorns, I think, because of what am I going to do with silver gain and duration. Duration is probably the most trash upgrade there is. So even the late stage with good luck, I had to choose thorns, and still choosing the Coward's Cloak because I just felt like every single attempt I was like struggling with movement speed. So always choose movement speed, and then once you're leveling over and over and over again, kind of didn't favor the Aegis on. If I had a choice, I would go Aura or Executioner or Katana. But that is what it is. And then this is where I got really lucky here at the very end. You can see I had to sort of camp out and take down this Chunkum, these names, But I got a speed boost after that for the last 3 shrines. So there's 1, 2, and then, boy howdy, did my luck really come into play, because bam, dropped the time power up, and I was able to just go and camp out at the very, very last shrine, and it actually made it extremely easy. And then here you can see it, boom, Chaos Tome. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you got any questions or tips, or if you see anything that I absolutely borked and could have done better. But I think it was a pretty solid run. Almost 2 minutes left in the final stage, and I got in every shrine. So really happy with this. And I think if I was to do it different, maybe I'd do the size tome instead of projectiles, but I don't know. I just always feel like projectiles is the way to go. And then, of course, I had to give it my best, give it the old college try here at the end. And he absolutely decimated me when I went over to try to do the first shrine and get my weapons back. So I'm dead, but got the unlock. Chaos Tome, there it is. Let's go grab it from the store. Boosh. Voila. Awesome. All right. Thanks. Let me know if y'all enjoyed this and what other content you'd like to see. That's how this works, right?